Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to be taking a little bit of a look at a very, very good, very, awkward and complicated deck list. You see, the lovely Henry Brand, you might recognise that name, he's our reigning world champion, has gone and won Perth Regionals over in Australia. But he's gone and won it with a Mewtwo and Mew deck, and yes, that is the same deck with which he won the World Championships. And he has gone and shared out the list, and he's put a little bit of a note here that he actually went and kind of destroyed Zacian ADP. As in individual games, i.e. not best of threes, we're talking 2 or 3 games per best of 3, he went 22 out of 25 for an 88% winning. Yeah. If you can win against the best deck in the game 88% of the time, that's pretty gosh darned awesome. Bearing in mind that the top deck of the Perth Regional Championships was 8 decks, 6 of which was Zacian ADP, and that should give you some indication of why that's pretty good. Maybe in the future, when Zacian ADP becomes less all-encompassing, this deck sees a little bit less play. Maybe Henry switches it around a little bit. But for now, this beats the best deck. Now, it's all built around Mewtwo and Mew, and at this stage, I probably shouldn't need to give too much of a big introduction about that deck. You've got the Perfection ability that allows you to copy the attacks of any EX or GX card on your field or in your discard pile. It's ridiculous. How many different ones does Henry play? 10. He plays 10 different ones. Although, to be fair, one of them is Dedenne. Dedenne isn't really used. You can use the attacks here. The GX attack puts it in your hand, does 50 damage and automatic paralysis. But really, Dedenne is used to discard your hand, draw 6 cards. Okay. So what are we using here? Well, there's only one where he actually doubles up. The only one where he doubles up here is Solgaleo GX. The first one, the one that came around in Sun and Moon, which I know sounds like it should have rotated, but it didn't rotate out from Sun and Moon because it was later released in Ultra Prism, the gold version, and the gold version in Ultra Prism has kept it in the format because that wasn't an alternate art reprint, it was a proper reprint with a new set number, etc. that went and kept it in the format. And it's here for Soul Burst GX. Soul Burst GX is a wonderful GX attack that for a single energy lets you search your deck for 5 energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. And it is energy, not basic energy, so you can get special. And as we're going to see in a minute, this deck only plays special energy. It's pretty gosh darned awesome. Now, there are many different GX attacks you can use. This is your GX attack where you need to get set up with lots of energy quickly. Another GX attack you may want to use is the aforementioned ADP. Altered Creation lets you do an extra 30 damage for the rest of the game, or for a second energy also lets you take an extra prize for the rest of the game every time you take a KO, but you are giving up that energy acceleration in the early game. You have been warned. Ultimate Ray will do 150, but it only lets you accelerate basic energy from the deck, and you're not playing any basic energy. Venusaur and Snivy is a competent attacker. It's fine. 4 energy, 160, 3 energy, 50 damage to all your opponent's Pokemon. Or if you've got 2 extra energy, you heal all damage from all of your Pokemon. Can be good in these situations, but mostly it's for the ability Shining Vine. If you attach a grass energy to it when it's in the active, you get to gust up any of your opponent's Pokemon. And it has been confirmed that that will work for special energy. And of the 12 energy you're playing, 10 of them count as grass energy. That's pretty good. Reshiram and Charizard comes along here. It's got 4 energy, 230, which is alright. It's got 6 energy GX attack, 300 and goes through anything. But mostly I would imagine this is here for Outrage. 2 energy, 30 damage, plus 10 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So if your opponent doesn't get a one-hit KO, you get a pretty nice Outrage attack. We are playing Blastoise GX here. Not one we see seeing a huge amount of play in a huge amount of decks. It's got a GX attack that lets you attach water energy from your hand to your Pokemon, so don't use that one. But for 2 water energy, you do 60 damage for each water energy attached to this Pokemon that you choose to shuffle into your deck. This could essentially have you hitting for 600 damage. You could have 10 water energy on here, hit 600. This is you can essentially hit for infinite damage attack. This is where you really positively, absolutely have to get a KO right now. And you're shuffling your energy back into your deck, leaves it not available for the future, etc. But it's for when you need to get a giant KO right now. Vileplume GX has a GX attack for 1 energy that does 50 damage plus burn plus paralysis plus poison. Not going to be one you use often, but it's there for emergencies. Mostly it's there for the attack, 2 energy, 180 damage, minus 10 for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So the goal here is extremely simple. Use this when you've got no damage on. And if you've got no damage on, you're good to go. 180 damage is good. Once you've got damage on, it becomes pointless. But you should already be starting to see that what you've got here is a bunch of different attacks for different situations. Got a bunch of damage on? Reshiram and Charizard Outrage. Need a big KO right now and you've got lots of energy? Blastoise. Not got any damage on but only got 2 energy? Vileplume. Lots of different options. We've got Greninja GX. Now, this is the Detective Pikachu Greninja. And this one's really cool because you can actually use it not just with Mewtwo and Mew. Because it's got an ability whereby if it's the last card in your hand, you can bench it and draw 3 cards. That's kind of awesome. It's also got 2 energy, 130, and it goes through any effects of your opponent's Pokemon. So anyone that's trying to block you and stop you attacking, Greninja GX's Mist Slash has got your back. If your opponent's got an Alolan Ninetales, for instance, because you're only playing really GXs here, you got one exception. So, yeah, it seems pretty sensible that you would go ahead and use this. Now, it's also got a GX attack that puts one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and all cards attached to it into their hand. Again, this is not one you want to be using on a regular basis at all, but there will be emergency situations where this can win you the game. We've got Flygon GX. Now, Flygon GX is a really fun one that we don't see it being used or played very much at all. It's a niche kind of card. But what it does for free energy, 120 if there's a stadium in play, 240 and discard that stadium. 240 for free energy you will already have seen is very good. Compared to the other attacks you're using, free energy 240 is nice, but it does also work to get rid of stadiums if that's what you're into. Free energy 220 goes to any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, maybe in an emergency, but Greninja for 2 energy can do 130 and go through effects, so I think that's going to be your go-to more often. And the final one here is Alolan Raticate GX. Again, one that we don't necessarily see played all that much, but it's got its uses. 0 energy, discard up to 2 cards from your hand, 40 damage for each card discarded. It's the only free attack we've got in the deck, so that's quite nice. But it also lets you discard cards from your hand, and you need to be discarding your GX Pokemon in order to copy them with Mewtwo and Mew. So this is a really nice turn 1 attack. You've also got a free GX attack here. Search your deck for up to 6 item cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, in a format with Reset, Stamp and Marnie, and in a deck with many, many other really good GX attacks. I cannot in any way, shape or form actually suggest you ever use this. Now that's all the GX Pokemon in the deck, and I'm sorry that took a while, but this is, as I mentioned earlier, a complicated deck. Outside of that, we've got an Indeedee V, which lets you heal 20 damage from your active once during your turn. That could be useful. We've got a Wobbuffet, which basically just turns off Prism Star Pokemon. It's coming out as a tech more and more often in more and more decks. It's just got the ability Shady Tail. If it's on your bench, Prism Star Pokemon, yours and your opponent's, can't attack, and have no abilities. But you need to be a little bit careful because you're actually playing one copy of Xerneas Prism Star. Now when this was revealed, I said I expected it to go into every fairy deck because it's a really good one-off attacker. When it moves from your bench to your active, you can move any number of energy over, and then free energy 160. Now, firstly, this hits weakness on Arceus and Palkia and Dialga, which is pretty good. That's a very widely played card. Secondly, if you've got free energy spread around the field but not enough on any one Pokemon to attack, Xerneas will come in and let you attack for 160 damage. Mostly I would imagine this is in here for a cheeky KO on an ADP. And then we've got one copy of Galarian Zigzagoon. Play it from your hand to your bench, deal 10 damage somewhere. And frankly, this just gets the numbers. It's as simple as that. This is the Pokemon you use to make sure that you're getting KOs. If you would be 10 damage short, in comes Galarian Zigzagoon, drops a damage counter, you're good to go. Now in terms of the energy line, it's fairly complicated. You have got 4 copies of Rainbow Energy because it can count as any energy, though you do have to take a damage counter when you attach it. That's kind of sad. And then you've got 4 copies of Aurora Energy because that also counts as any energy. So now you've got 8. You don't take a damage counter, you have to discard a card from your hand, but do please bear in mind that discarding a card from your hand is good in this deck because you need to be discarding your GXs, especially the evolved ones, that can only be used for the discard pile. So Aurora Energy actually becomes awesome. I get the feeling Aurora Energy is a better option most of the time than Rainbow, but you can only play 4. We've got 2 copies of Unit Energy here, which is your Grass, Fire, Water. Won't work for every Pokemon, will work for a bunch. Got to be careful which attacks you're copying, but it will also work with Venusaur and Snivy, which is pretty gosh darn good. And 2 copies of Weakness Guard Energy. It's a colourless energy, but it also takes away your weakness. In a deck like this, where you really do rely on attacking with the same Pokemon every game, removing your weakness is pretty good. Now moving into the trainers, in terms of Pokemon search, we've got Cherish Ball, that searches out GXs, like most of your deck is, and Quick Ball, which searches out your basics, like most of the deck is. We've also got 3 copies of Tag Call, which will search out your tag teams, and you're not playing entirely tag teams, but you're playing quite a few tag teams here. We've got 4 copies of Switch, which allow you to switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench. That's fairly important because you are going to be playing some of these as basics, you're going to have to Dedenne, etc. We've got 3 copies of Chaotic Swell. You don't need a particular stadium here, so Chaotic Swell becomes really good as a counter stadium. If your opponent tries to play their own stadium, it gets discarded and nothing happens. We've got 1 copy of Great Catcher coming in as Gusting here. Discard 2 cards from your hand, bring a GX or an EX active. It's alright, it's not perfect, won't work for everything, but it's Gusting on a single card, and it lets you discard cards, which, as I've said, at times in the game, that is going to determine whether you can use the attack you need to win or not. But don't forget you've got Venusaur and Snivy as well. And then in terms of tools, you've got 1 Air Balloon, reduces your retreat cost by 2, can be pretty good for retreating, and 1 Big Charm that gives you an extra 30 HP, can be the difference between you getting knocked out and not. And in terms of the supporter line here, we've got Professor's Research, which discard your hand, draw 7. Fastest, most aggressive supporter card we've got. 1 copy of Cynthia and Caitlin, which lets you recover a supporter card while drawing 3. 1 copy of Guzma and Hala, which lets you search out a stadium, a tool, and a special energy. In a deck that really relies on special energy, this becomes awesome. And 1 copy of Mallow and Lana, which lets you switch and heal 120. Especially good if you're trying to be using Vileplume's attack in the future. And don't forget, we are playing 3 copies of Tag Call, that as well as searching out tag team Pokemon, will also search out these tag team supporters. This is not an easy deck to play. This is the kind of deck that is played by the kind of person who wins regionals and the World Championships, because it presents you with an awful lot of options, and then asks you to make the right decision pretty much every single turn of the game. It's not easy, but if you're a good enough player, this gives you the options to beat basically everything. And when you show me a deck that's got an 88% winning margin against the best deck in the game right now, I think that's something you have to take just a little bit seriously. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to know what you think about this deck. Is it your favourite list? Is it one you think looks pretty good? Or is it one that you're actually just not really feeling? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome regardless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.